My name is Joe Murphy and welcome to my kitchen. One of my favorite late summer activities is canning, and that's vacuum packing various fruits and vegetables, usually in a ball canning jar. Today we're going to be making pickles. I'm going to be canning cucumbers in brine, vinegar, and spices. They'll be vacuum packed so they'll keep for a long time without refrigeration, and I really hope you enjoy it. So what we have here are the last pickles from my garden. They're fresh. They even still have the little spikes on them, which can be a little painful, but we'll take those off in a little bit. When you're canning, it's important that your glassware be clean and sterile. For the clean part, I'm just taking the jars out of the packaging and running them through my dishwasher in a regular cycle. Now these garden fresh pickles, they're going to come with little spikes on them, and they can actually be kind of painful. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to knock those spikes off of them into the waste can using just the not sharp edge of a regular knife. I just run it along the side. So after I get the spikes off, I'm just going to rinse my pickles or my cucumbers off. Make sure there's no spikes left I can feel, and any dirt or grime from the garden. And there you go, they're all washed up. So the next thing you're going to want to do is just get your cucumbers ready for pickling. You can pickle them whole. Some people like slices. I actually like spears. You want to try and keep in mind the size of your jar. In this case, that would probably be a little bit too tall, so I might cut that down. I'm going to do spears again. If you wanted, you could do discs. You could do diagonals. Some people like those. But my favorite, especially with these garden cucumbers, what a beautiful cucumber. Let's cut them into spears for pickling, and then I'll save them that way until I'm ready to put them in the jars. Okay, and there's the last one. As you can see, these are just beautiful. Look at the seeds and stuff inside there. I wish you were here with me because you could smell this incredible fresh cucumber. Got a whole bowl of them there. So in my pickles, I use a couple different types of flavor. I use dill. This is organic dill from my garden. Again, you want to inspect it and make sure you're not putting anything in there that maybe is wilted. Again, you don't want it to spoil. These are some buds of garlic. Depending upon whether you like your pickles more garlicky, you could use more or less of this or any one of these ingredients. Other thing that I do, which is a great thing, and you should try in your own pickles, you can buy a whole horseradish root at most supermarkets, relatively inexpensively for how long it lasts. And I always put just a sliver of horseradish into my pickles before I close them up. And that not only gives it a nice little kick, not too much of a kick, but a nice one, but horseradish is an incredible preservative. And I just take a regular vegetable peeler and just one slice of about that thickness per jar can take something that would normally last a year without refrigeration to like 2. So I'll cut up some of those slices. Finally, I'm going to be using plain vinegar in my pickling solution. The pickling solution will be roughly 50-50 distilled white vinegar and filtered water from my water filtration system. And then I'll put salt in it to taste. The pickles will go into the jars. When the jar's about half full, I'll add these harder ingredients. Then I'll finish it. I'll add in a pinch of the coriander, a pinch of the pepper medley, and then I'll pour the hot sauce over top of it and can it. So it's going to be a lot. One thing that might be interesting to you is working with dill. Most of us are used to dried dill weed, and you're going to want to put that in there to get a dill flavor in your pickles. I've coarsely chopped this, and I'm going to add that to, of course, to the my canning, but notice I haven't cut it down into little tiny seeds like you might get in a jar at the store. In fact, I'll even be putting some of this heavy stem in there because the entire plant is full of a wonderful dill flavor. And okay, so you've got both your spaghetti sauce pot boiling, and I've got my brine boiling. I'm going to turn the brine down to low and turn the spaghetti sauce pot up a little bit more. Glassware has been through the dishwasher again with no detergent. I'm going to use these lovely little, they're special tongs for canning. They fit exactly on the lid of one. And I'm going to put 4 at a time my quart jars into the boiling water in the sauce pot. Now look, when you put this in there, if you put it in straight down, there'll be a huge splash and it'll get burned. So you have to kind of go in at an angle. You don't want to put that in straight down. You want to go in at a slight angle so it fills slowly instead of plopping in all at once. Because if it plops in all at once, it'll splash and you'll get burned. At the same time I'm doing that, I want to use some of the caps and bands. There's 4 in there, so I'm going to put 4 caps in. The hot water will activate the gum rubber in there and make it easier to seal, and I'm going to put the bands in. Just remember, if you're doing this, you can reuse the bands, but you can't reuse the little caps. Okay, so my brine's boiling. That's here. The big pot's hot. These have all been sterilized. I've got my lids and my rings laid out, and now I'm going to start putting pickles into the cucumbers in the jars, which will become the pickles. Now, a good way to do this is to lay the jar on the side. It's easier to get them to fit then. You want them to be a little bit shorter than the jar, right about there if you take a look. I'm going to lay them on their side, and I'm going to fill this jar about halfway with spears. Once I got it halfway, I'm going to want to put those harder spices in because they'll be hard to get in there later. And don't worry about the little pieces you trim off. Those can be pickled chips later. So now that that's about halfway done, I'm going to throw a piece of dill in there. Maybe 1 or 2 pieces of that horseradish that we talked about earlier. A couple buds of garlic. Now once you've got that done, you've got your brine here, and that's half vinegar, half water, and a lot of salt. You'll taste it to make sure it's the way you want it. Coffee cup. We'll just fill this up with that hot brine. And you want to be just to the edge of the neck there. You want there to be a little bit of air space. After that, you put a couple coriander seeds in there. You don't have to put too many. It's a powerful seasoning, unless you like it. And you get a couple of these mixed exotic peppers here. Put the ring on. Make sure it's on there evenly. And then you'll just tighten this down until it stops. You don't have to squeeze it, even you'll want to. Okay. Once you've got that done, we're going to take that jar and put it back into the big pot. And we're going to do that with the next 3. Okay, so we've got about 15 minutes in. I'm going to turn the heat off on the big pot. Open the lid. I'm going to carefully take them out. And if you listen, as each one cools, you'll hear a pop as the vacuum forms. See, did you hear that pop? Each one will pop in turn as the vacuum forms. There's one popping. There you go. Now, if you don't hear that pop, it's no big deal. You can just reset the ring and put it back into the big pot. That's 4 vacuum sealed jars of cucumbers.